What is up, everybody? My name is Jericholic8704, here to give you another episode of Raw. Is Jericholic8704. You guys know the spiel by now. Let's just dive right in. Raw, July 21st, 2003, from Hollywood. I mean, this has been built up for the past 2 weeks. Jericho has not shut up about it. So it's Raw from Hollywood. We had a quick recap. It's the usual recap, the same old shit. Kane's killing everyone. They show Kane's face in a fisheye lens for some reason, I guess just to prove the fact that this guy's distorted by the fire or whatever. So anyway, the opening pyro went off, the opening theme song went, yada yada yada, and then Bischoff starts in the ring and states that Austin's GM run is about to end. He says no one deserves to be put on fire, and because of that, Austin will be fired tonight by Linda McMahon. Linda McMahon comes out, her music was usually the WrestleMania 10 theme, that little, production theme. But this one had to be horrendously dubbed in. I know I've mentioned this before, but I hate when the WWE Network has to, dub music into their, into their entrances. I hate that because they sound so weird. I mean, I understand what it is. It's like rights and everything, like certain songs. I think Hogan, he had the Voodoo Child theme by Jimi Hendrix in 0203, and that has to be dubbed because they no longer own the rights to that song. But what I'm thinking about this is Linda McMahon's theme was the WrestleMania theme. That's a production theme. They own the rights to that song. Maybe on this night, July 21st, 2003, it wasn't that way, but I really always thought her theme was that song, but I might be wrong. Anyway, the theme sounded horrendously dubbed, so I can only imagine it was. So Linda says that Bischoff needs to chill because she said she's going to come here and fix the general manager problem, and that did not mean that Stone Cold Steve Austin was going to be fired. Linda also mentioned how Kane is under house arrest, but that does not prevent Kane from coming in to wrestle, and because of that, he will wrestle Rob Van Dam tonight. Bischoff says he wants Austin fired, and then Austin comes out. Austin says he's not going to apologize for what he has done. Austin says he's going to whip Kane's ass. Bischoff says, this is the attitude that's going to get you fired. All you do is beat up on your employees. Linda says she's going to fix the general manager problem, and she makes a decree that both Austin and Bischoff will remain co-general managers, but Austin cannot lay a hand on an employee unless he is physically provoked first. Austin is hesitant to agree, and he says, I'll think about it, and then Linda McMahon says, just to help you think, if you do step down, she will give full control of Raw to Eric Bischoff, which pisses Stone Cold Steve Austin off. He begins to walk away, and then Bischoff saying, nah, hey, goodbye. Austin gets pissed. He pretends he throws a fake punch at Bischoff, and Bischoff kind of scurries away. And then Linda McMahon decides that both Austin and Bischoff will get the night off. Fine opening segment. I mean, it's more general manager drama. When has there ever been a Raw that doesn't have some sort of authority drama to it? The authority figure just can't be the authority figure. There always has to be some sort of weird storyline thrown in. Anyway, this was fine. Nothing bad about it, but, nothing great. Then we had a Divas tag team match, Trish Stratus and Gail Kim versus Molly Holly and Victoria. Before this match began, and I really honestly did not pay too much attention to this match because they panned to the crowd during, I think, maybe Victoria's entrance, and they showed two losers in mullets, and they said, there's Dwayne and Danny Mullet from the hit show on UPN, The Mullets, and as soon as I heard hit show on UPN, I'm like, there's no way this thing lasted more than 5 episodes. So I was very quick to go to Wikipedia and read the premise for The Mullets, and here is the premise. The Mullets are blue-collar, wrestling-loving, light-hearted, optimistic brothers who don the hairstyle that bears the surname. The brothers who sport identical mullet haircuts have different personalities. Dwayne Mullet has a loud, in-your-face demeanor, while Denny Mullet is quieter, more thoughtful, easygoing guy. The brothers live life to the fullest and dream of bigger and better futures, though their fantasies are out of step with their reality. Their mother, Mandy Mullet Heidecker, is warm, maternal type, who couldn't be more proud of her offspring, no matter what they do. She's recently married to Roger Heinecker. John O'Hurley's in the show? Yeah, I do love John O'Hurley. A clean-cut game show host who is the polar opposite of the boys and her former life. So this is the episode list. They said 11 episodes were made, but only 8 were broadcast. I can only assume because it was cut due to poor-ass reception of this show. The first episode is called SmackDown. The brothers win. They try to win wrestling tickets in a radio contest for their mother's birthday. So yeah, I'm sure that this sitcom was going, so far in life. But yeah, I just showed I didn't even pay attention to this match. I was just looking at the synopsis for this horrendous show. I've never even seen it, but I already know it's horrible. So all I got from this match was Gail started with Molly, and she tagged in Trish. Molly got the heat. Everything kind of broke down, and then Gail got her top ripped off by Victoria, and then King, of course, cheered like a madman, and then Trish accidentally chick kicked Gail, which cost him the match. Half a star. Who gives a fuck? Then we had a backstage segment with Austin and Bischoff. Bischoff says he's pissed that he can't run Raw. Austin says that Bischoff would take Raw to new heights, just like he did with WCW. Bischoff says, all right, that company was bought out. And then Stone Cold says, yeah, bought out of business. Oh my God, WCW jab in 2003. Who gives a fuck? Then we had Randy Orton versus Val Venis. The highlight of this show, Evolution, finally has Line in the Sand as their theme. They no longer have that stupid ass theme that I hated. Anyway, before the match, Orton cut a promo. Orton says that Foley told him that he had the tools to succeed in the business, but no experiences. Orton said he made a name for himself when he beat the piss out of Foley and when he pinned all three Dudleys last week on Raw. Orton says he is a lady killer, but he shall now be known as the Legend Killer. So Triple H goes to the commentary table. Triple H asked Coach why he's out talking. He said, oh, that's right, I forgot. JR doesn't come back till Ash Wednesday. And then Triple H said, what happened last week with JR was absolutely atrocious because our audience saw something they shouldn't have seen. He said JR should have stopped, dropped, and rolled. He forgot the most vital part in that three-step plan. He forgot to roll. King was kind of done with Triple H's, sarcastic jokes. So the match, they go back and forth. Venis started out strong, but he got distracted by Flair, which gave Orton the upper hand for a bit. Venis hits a spine buster, and then he goes for a money shot on Orton, and he misses. That's kind of funny out of context. Orton hits an RKO for the win, and yeah, that's pretty much the match. It was kind of nothing, star, whatever. Triple H comes back into the ring and puts an Evolution shirt on Orton, and Triple H talks more about Evolution and says no one can stop them. Goldberg's music begins to hit. I think King said they hadn't seen Goldberg in 3 weeks. I really hadn't noticed he was gone. I mean, off the top of my head, the last time I remember him being on Raw was that MSG show where he killed Rodney Mack. But I thought he was on 2 weeks ago. I don't know. Maybe they got that wrong. But I mean, Goldberg's appearances on 2003 Raws have kind of blurred together for me. So Goldberg, comes out and he talks on the mic, and I kind of figured out why Goldberg was the silent loner, kick-ass kind of guy, because Goldberg on the mic was not always the greatest thing in the world, especially when he was out there, he was kind of smiling, he looked kind of nervous. I don't know, Goldberg was kind of shaky here. Anyway, he says, I'm going to beat all your asses and all that. You think you're big and bad, and he says, Triple H, if you haven't figured it out, you're next. And then Triple H says, you want a shot at me? Fine, but it's going to be on my terms. And then Evolution slowly backs out of the ring. Then we had a backstage segment with Evolution coming back from commercial break. Orton is all complaining that Goldberg stole his spotlight. He was acting like a whiny bitch. Orton was literally like, I'm so mad that Goldberg stole my spotlight. Triple H, let's go back out there and make him pay for it. He literally sounded like a 5-year-old. He was unbearable in this segment. Triple H says, pick your battles and stick to the plan, whatever the plan was. Then we had the highlight of Raw by far, Chris Jericho versus Shawn Michaels. King constantly calls out Coach for not being genuine throughout this entire match. It was kind of a story all throughout the entire show, but it really hit the nail on the head here. Coach, the story is Coach pretends to feel bad for Jim Ross, but he's actually happy that he gets a spot on the commentary table. And throughout this entire match, he would say something about JR, and King's like, do you actually mean that? He would call him out constantly. It got old after a while, but, sprinkled throughout the show in tiny increments, I didn't have a problem with it. But anyway, so both start out with wrestling holds. Jericho charges with a head of steam, and HBK pulls the rope, and Jericho falls out. They do the spot where they constantly roll up each other, and HBK bridges out on the last one. I still don't understand how people can do that. I mean, I know I'm not the strongest person in the world. I'm 6'3", 150 pounds. You know what I mean? I'm not the strongest person in the world. But still, to bridge out, that looks like it must suck. And that looks like they take so much back strength and leg strength and all that shit. It looks rough. So I'll commend anyone who can bridge out of a pin like that, especially Shawn Michaels, who has, probably not a good back and probably not a good back. His back sucks, and I'm sure his legs are pretty beat up too, especially at this stage of his career. So, I really admire the fact that Shawn Michaels is able to still bridge out of a pin, but whatever. Jericho hits a big backbreaker and throws him out and hits some suplexes for the heat. Jericho tries for a springboard dropkick when HBK is on the apron and he misses. HBK hits a springboard crossbody, and then HBK hits a crossbody in the ring for a count of 2. The best moment of the match, and probably the whole show, is when they're wrestling, Flair comes down in the ring. He's strutting down. His music doesn't go off or anything. He just starts walking to the ring and the camera pans over to him. So Shawn Michaels sees this, and then Jericho Irish whips Michaels, and then Shawn Michaels slides under the ring and just punches Flair right in the face. Hilarious. So then HBK gets put in the walls, and then an abrupt commercial break happens. So, like, literally, like, Chris Jericho, take two. We had a really weird moment on the show. Chris Jericho goes for the walls of Jericho. He cinches it in, and he has him in the hold. Shawn Michaels is screaming and everything, and the announcer's like, "Oh my God, can Shawn Michaels hold on? Is he going to tap?" And all of a sudden, the screen just goes black, and they go to a commercial. Now, usually on Raw, when they're in the middle of a match and they have to take a commercial break, it'll be like, "Can Shawn Michaels fight out of this hold? We'll find out more. Raw coming at you after this commercial break," or something. They have some sort of send off. So I thought, that was weird. Maybe like they said something and they just decided to edit it out. I don't know. Maybe like Shawn Michaels, like maybe Jericho actually accidentally mooned the camera or something. I don't know. I thought like maybe they had to edit something out. But they came back, and then King is yelling at Coach, and he tells Coach to apologize to the audience for their random commercial break, and then Coach obliges, and he's like, "All right, I'm sorry." So I thought that was kind of weird. Jericho tosses HBK over the ropes, and then Flair chokes him. Jericho throws him back first into the ring post. Jericho goes for a top rope axe handle, and then HBK drop kicks him in a great spot. HBK makes his comeback. He does his kip-ups and everything. Jericho cuts him off and hits a lion salt. HBK cuts him off and does a top rope elbow. He goes for the sweet chin music. Jericho ducks, and the ref flinches. And while the ref is flinching from almost being kicked, like a gentle breeze will knock these refs over. So while the ref is selling almost getting kicked, Jericho nutshots HBK. Then Jericho brings a chair into the ring, and then he goes for Michaels, but he gets super kicked, which the ref missed because he flinched again after Jericho tried to pump fake him with the chair. And then as the ref is about to hit the 9 count, Flair jumps in on the apron, and as Hebner deals with Flair, Orton RKOs him onto the chair. Jericho goes for the cover, but Shawn Michaels kicks out, and then Jericho turns him over for the walls for the tap-out win. 3.5 stars. It was actually a really, really good match. I enjoyed it. It was pretty lengthy for a Raw match, especially Raw around 10 o'clock. Very, very good match. Probably the best match I've reviewed since, I've started doing this little mini-series. But yeah, very good. I liked it a lot. And then after that, we had Lance Storm cutting more index card promos. Storm says he's going to perform for the Talent Scouts and mentions Rob Reiner, who is sitting ringside. Lance Storm then gets cut off by Terry, who informs us that Kane has arrived, and Kane shows up in shackles and is escorted by the police. Then we had Booker T versus Test. Test comes out to literally zero reaction, and I find that appalling because Test is by far the greatest moment of Raw every single week, and you think people in LA would know True Talent, but whatever. So Test sneaks a thumb to the eye to get the advantage. Christian is seen awkwardly standing and watching the screen. Like the way everyone watches Raw. That they're slanted. They're staring at the TV screen. There's turned so much that the camera can see you. It's like in theater, how you have to have an open stance. Because in theater, what you should do is you should never stand side by side with someone unless you're directed to. You should always kind of stand on a diagonal so the audience can see your face and they can see your emotion. Because, while it is a simulation of life, you also have to make sure the audience can see everything. So, you have to make sure the audience can see the reaction and everything. But then again, this isn't theater. It's close, but it's not. So, everyone has to watch TV in this awkward ass angle where you can see their expression, but they have to awkwardly cock their head to the point where you can see them watching the screen. But you have to see their body language. They have to turn their torso towards the camera, and it's just a mess. So it always kind of bothered me when they did that. So Test starts doing jumping jacks randomly when he gets the heat on Booker, and then Booker makes a comeback. Test tries a big boot, but he gets crotched on the ropes, and then Booker, shakes the rope, so he gets crotched even more. So Steiner comes out with a chair, and he sets it up on the stage, and he's just kind of sitting watching the match, and then he, points to the stage and has Stacy Keibler come out, and then Test has Booker T in a camel clutch, so he's watching everything happen. And then Stacy basically proceeds to give Steiner a lap dance, and she rips off her skirt and everything, and then Test does the best angry faces. I fucking love Test. He's the best. So, no pun intended with that rhyme. So, he's basically just getting pissed, and eventually, dumb shit, he lets go of Booker T to just yell at Scott Steiner from a distance some more. Booker T hits a bookend. What was funny about this was King almost said rock bottom because, as we all know, it's the same move. As he was going for the bookend, King was like, bookend! So then Booker T wins the match and retains the Intercontinental Championship. Half a star. Then we had a quick backstage segment with a bunch of geeks. Everyone's talking backstage. Hurricane and Rosie start talking, and the camera eventually pans to them. Hurricane says he sees Rosie as a superhero in training, and then Goldust shows up and he spells it out. As we know, the acronym for that would be SHIT. Shit. That's the joke. Haha. Isn't wrestling funny? Anyway, we have our main event, Kane versus Rob Van Dam. Now, let me tell you about this main event. The highlight of this show, by far, was Kane's entrance for two reasons. One, Kane being escorted in shackles by police officers. Pretty fucking awesome. I'm not gonna lie. It was really cool seeing Kane. Kane looked like a dangerous man. Like, you know how like Goldberg was escorted by everyone because he was just such a dangerous guy? Kane looked like he could physically kill someone. This guy's coming in. He's chained up. It's not like he's in handcuffs. He's literally in chains. He can barely walk. It was amazing. Aside from that, this entrance was also really, really badass considering Kane's entrance music. Slow Chemical by Finger Eleven, I believe that is the name of the song. I know Finger Eleven sings the song. But, I always liked this theme. I really liked all of Kane's themes, except for that one he had in, like, 2010, where it was, like, really dumb. But, I really liked this song. But what was awesome about this is they kind of let the song build up. And, like the song's playing, it's kind of a badass song to begin with, but, the song picks up in steam, it starts going faster, the vocals get a little more intense, and Kane gets into the ring, and as the chorus is really blaring, and there's screaming going on, Kane rips off the towel and does his, pyro thing. He just fucking goes insane. The theme song really, really, really helped this entrance. I would say go back and watch this Raw for this entrance. This looked fucking badass. So then we come back from commercial break, RVD's music hits, and he comes running out, which is a better example of how not always doing your usual shtick in your entrance can really tell a story. Rob Van Dam didn't come out. He didn't do his little thumb thing with the RVD because he has a score to settle with this motherfucker that he wants to kill. So he darted out there. As soon as his pyro went off, RVD just bolted towards the ring. He didn't give a fuck, and as soon as he slid in the ring, he just started beating the shit out of Kane. Awesome. Love this main event. So it's basically just a giant brawl. It's not even really a match. They hit some moves on each other, but they eventually make their way out to the entrance. Eventually, Kane cuts him off. He throws RVD into like the little lighting board, which blows the light out, and then Pyro shoots out. And then he tries to go for a chokeslam off the stage, and then some agents come out. It was actually Arn Anderson and Johnny Ace. They're the ones that came out. And you can hear Johnny Ace, "Don't do it, Kane! Don't do it, Kane!" And he in his Johnny Ace voice. So then eventually Linda McMahon comes out, and this is the classic scene that we all know from 2003 Kane. He eventually just beats the shit out of everyone. He goes to chokeslam Linda, and then King, he gets off his ass from the announce table and tries to beat up Kane, and then Kane just takes him out. He kills everyone, and then eventually he tombstones Linda McMahon. But when I thought about this, was like, okay, you have some agents, and you have King trying to make the save. Can't everyone else on the roster make the save? This man has Linda McMahon, the CEO of the company, in tombstone position. You're telling me that no one is going to try and make the save? I understand that Kane is like fucking scary, so everyone on the Raw roster is terrified. I mean, I will say, in the backstage segment before this, with all the losers, one thing I neglected to mention was all the geeks were like, yeah, I'm not messing with Kane. So it was established. I can give WWE credit for that. They did establish the fact that superstars are afraid of Kane. However, you're telling me like a 30-man roster can't all team up to just demolish Kane? I thought about a better way to do this. I thought it would be better if he brought Linda McMahon down maybe to the ring area, like ringside, and then like as people like began, like maybe you have like who's a face, like you have who's the top baby face on Raw? Like fuck, Scott Steiner, Booker T. Like maybe you have Booker T come out. I mean, God, he had to be the top face on Raw, right? I mean, Rob Van Dam's in this match. We're going to have to exclude him. So let's just say Booker T comes out, and he has, like, the Dudleys and a bunch of other guys, and maybe he has someone like Jericho or, Test, like, just to show, like, okay, like, heels and faces are in solidarity against this badass motherfucker. Maybe he, like, waves to some people, like, hey, come on. So you can see him on the stage, and then Kane, like, summons a wall of fire. Like, sure, it's hokey, but, God damn it, it would make more sense to why people aren't coming to the aid of Linda fucking McMahon. But, whatever. I mean, we all, like, it's Kane's mythical powers. I mean, every entrance, Kane summons fire on those ring posts. You know what I mean? Like, we can just pretend that Kane actually has the power to summon fire. So he summons a wall of fire that engulfs the stage, so there's a barrier between the wrestlers and him, and then there he can tombstone Linda McMahon. A tombstone anywhere from Kane is going to kill Linda McMahon. So really, does it matter if he does it on the stage or on, the mats outside of the ring? Doesn't really matter to me. I just thought that was kind of hokey. But anyway, so afterwards, Kane leaves, he laughs, and then all the agents come up to check on Linda, and they're like, don't move her. And then Arn Anderson's like, what happened? And then coach is like, he tombstoned her, and he's like, he tombstoned her. So everyone's all angry and pissed, and that's the end of Raw. So overall, decent show. I mean, I really liked the Jericho-Michaels match. That's going to give this match, that's what's going to give this Raw a thumbs up, because it took up a good chunk of the show. And then Kane versus Rob Van Dam was fun. I really liked the match. It was obviously nothing. It was just a brawl. But, the angle created was really cool. Kane's entrance was fucking awesome. I loved every second of it. So overall, I'd say this Raw was pretty much average, straight down the middle, like 5 out of 10. You had your good stuff and your bad stuff. I don't really care, but I mean, it was fine. So overall, that is Raw, July 23rd, 2003. Probably the most uneventful of all the Raws, even though you had a really good match on here. But that's pretty much it for me. I will see all of you later.